Joining us now from the House Financial Services Committee, Florida GOP Congressman Mike Haridopolos. So I appreciate you being here, Congressman. So, you're on the Financial Services Committee, right? And the market's had a great year this year, absorbing the tariffs. But polls are showing that people on Main Street are still frustrated over the higher prices left over from the Biden administration. How do you fix that disconnect?
Well, it's a real challenge, no doubt. We're all suffering through 4 years of Joe Biden, not just at the grocery store, but at the gas tank, what people are renting. Of course, mortgage costs went up because of the higher interest rates. It was a real debacle, a real dumpster fire, to put it simply. But the good news is that help is on the way. As you know, back in July, we reduced people's taxes on tips, overtime, and of course, Social Security, things that people earn. It's not a welfare program. And also, of course, we stopped the largest tax increase ever by passing that bill back in July as well. But we know we have a lot of work to do. It's not easy to turn around a failed economy, but with the good news with interest rates, and as the president just mentioned, the idea that our core inflation is down, we're moving in the right direction, but we need to do more.
You talked about those tax cuts, but Congressman, do you think the first quarter of next year, first 3 months, is when Americans will actually feel it? They'll feel they can afford their lifestyle?
I think they'll feel better that there's more money in their pocket. As you know, we lost around $3,000 in buying power during the Biden years. We picked up already about $1,000. But when people see that their taxes are lower in the spring, they're going to feel a lot better. And as you opened the show, Edward, people's 401ks are up. You see the stock market, which got below 40,000 earlier this year, now over 48,000. That means the retirement position is a lot better. But we want to keep that encouragement going by offering incentives for people to open businesses. And as you know, trillions of dollars are coming into our country because people know this is the best place to do business in the entire world.
So, Congressman, I want you to listen to this from the White House Economic Advisor Kevin Hassett. Listen.
We've got a list of things that we're going to present to the president. I expect, break a little news for you, I expect that most of us are going to be down for a big chunk of the week after Christmas at Mar-a-Lago, going through all the plans for next year. And definitely we have a big list of housing ideas that have been vetted very carefully by the cabinet secretaries to present to the president in a week or two. And we'll see which ones he picks.
And now I'll get to housing in a moment. First, what was the most substantial plan you think this year? And what one thing would you want President Trump to do to help the economy next year?
Well, first and foremost, as you mentioned, the best thing we did was to make sure the largest tax increase never happened. The Democrats were okay with it. We said no. We actually reduced taxes. I think that'll help out a lot. The best thing we can do in the year to come, of course, is to continue to drive down those interest rates. When we went from a 3% interest rate to a 7% interest rate under Joe Biden, that cost people in my community $1,200 a month. And so the housing issue is going to be of paramount importance. We just passed a bill out of the Financial Services Committee to help that issue out. And of course, President Trump has really turned the corner also on prescription drug costs. Remember, everyone always talked about it. He delivered, getting the 14 major drug companies to finally give us most favored nation, meaning we no longer pay higher prices than the rest of the world.
So I want to get to this. The president is getting a list of ideas on housing. Your district covers most of the beaches in Central Florida. First, listen to this, and we'll get you on the other side.
Are you still considering a national emergency over housing?
I'm looking at it.
What would that look like? What would that mobilize?
You know, there's two thoughts on housing. You have a lot of people have housing that because we have such a strong time and such a strong market, their houses are very valuable. It's a big part of their net worth, their house. I don't want to knock those numbers down because I want them to continue to have a big value for their house. At the same time, I want to make it possible for young people out there and other people to buy housing. In a way, they're at conflict.
So the president is saying that he wants to make sure people can afford to buy homes while others hold their value in their homes. How do you do both of those things?
Well, I think one way to do it is to increase your write-off when you sell your home. It's been static for 20 years. We need to allow people, when they choose to sell, to keep more of the money they earned by keeping that house paying, of course, their mortgages, etc. We want to allow them to keep more of it should they choose to move. A lot of people feel locked into their homes right now because they feel the tax bite would be too much from the federal government.
I appreciate it, Congressman. Thank you very much.